In today's Tough Talk, I sit down with my good friend, Stephen Churn. Now, Churn, I underestimated for most of our relationship until we recently went on a retreat down in Isla Morada. And it was at that retreat, I turned to him after hearing what was coming out of his mouth and said, "You are a gift to this world, and more people need to hear your message." And that's what we're going to do today. So tune in now. I am so excited. Welcome to Tough Talk, Stephen Churn. Churn and burn.
Churn
How are we
and
feeling
burn.
today?
Oh, I'm feeling excited. I just had a coconut water, my second one ever from this brand. Good.
Well, so Churn and I just got back from an amazing Soul Wiggle retreat with our good friend Patrick and John Baum. And the one thing I told Churn, because I've known Churn for how many years?
Man, it has to be almost, I say 8.
So it was at dinner. I turned to you and I said, "I underestimated you."
You did. You
Right?
did. Yeah, you did. You said it. You you looked me in my eyes and said it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. I get goosebumps because I'm like, here's a guy that is about to make so much impact and he doesn't even know it yet, right? Like to a certain extent. Because, I interact with so many people as I go about whatever it is that I'm going about at this point, and I can very easily see in others what they don't necessarily see in themselves, or maybe slightly see in themselves. And then you also have the opposite where it's like, yeah, don't do that. Don't go into like speaking or anything like that. Whereas you're like, I'm like, dude, just go, run, sprint.
Yeah.
But talk about how we met and
Absolutely.
and then where you are.
All right. So, first off, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I told you I appreciate the honesty because I kind of felt it. But that moment where you turned on and you got energized, it got me energized too. And you had this like burning stare in my eye, like this. You have it now. It freaked me out a little bit. But the way we met. So I met you through a mutual friend of ours, Corey Hackett, and at the time, I was working with him at Blank Label. And Corey's somebody I went to college with. And I was doing my entrepreneurship thing and had a baby on the way, my first and only child, but my daughter was on the way. And I was like, I need some extra income and I need some whatever. And he was like, hey, he was been looking to get me to come on board because he knows I'm a talker and I can interact with the clients. And so I started working with him.
Which, by the way, that interaction with Corey is hilarious because it was one of my first speeches ever.
Yeah.
I was walking down 14th Street in Midtown Atlanta, and this guy stops me, and this guy is dressed to the T, right?
Yes.
He pulled off. There's only a few people I know that can pull off a vest. Corey pulled it off.
Corey does well in the vest.
And he stops me. And he goes, "Hey, Chris, I just wanted to let you know I saw you speak, whatever it was, and I really enjoyed it." And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, first of all, how do I look like that? Second of all, I love the fact that you actually stopped me. It was the first time anyone had ever stopped me, right?
Wow.
And not like I get stopped all the time, but like, it was the first time. And then I was like, "What's your story?" Blah, blah, blah. And he told me about Blank Label, and then we set up that then interaction that
and I saw
almost
the picture.
all hell broke loose.
Yes, absolutely. So if you don't know, Blank Label is like a tailored clothing air type. You go there, get a suit, tailored shirt, all of that. And so it wasn't my lane, but I was like, yeah, I could work with you, and I knew that it would bring me into contact with interesting people. Like it was part of it, And so sure enough, I would get in there and he would like measure and I would get to talking to the person and it would just be like interviews. They would tell us everything and it was just open up a whole lane. And he would just quietly sit there looking at me like, man, I can't believe they're telling this. And so he told me about you and he told me about another friend of ours. And so you had an event and you wanted to get this like snazzy, like lining in like the book or something inside.
The best is yet to come.
The best is right there inside.
On a white tuxedo.
On a white tuxedo in your colors, in your signature colors. And usually the guys that come in there, you know, fit into certain boxes. I didn't have a box for you. You know what I mean? You came in and you had all of this energy, all this intention, and you were so passionate about, you know, wanting to connect and wanting to see like what are you doing? What are you about? And, you know, and the opposite usually happens. You know, you get those guys that come in and it's all, you know, you're just a person that's there to do something for them. And the underestimation thing, you know, we used to get questions in that space. So like, is this you guys' space or who owns it? Or, you know, just those sizing up questions. And you didn't come in like that. You came in hot, but you came in differently. And so from there, you know, just seeing what you've been doing and just keeping the interactions going. And every time we're able to connect, every time, you know, and we can go to the next thing the next connection point. But yeah, so that initial meeting, I was just really blown away by how you were, and you were doing something that you were passionate about. You let us come over to your office, and I'm watching you walk through the hallways of your office, and you just kind of like, it was uncharacteristic. Everybody was like dialed in and focused, and you were like, yeah, this is this department, this is that department. We're working with this movie. Wait a minute, do you guys need to sign NDAs? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, oh, you'll be all right. And then like, we went and we saw your space, and I took my contact and my phone for you is the picture of you showing us your space.
I love it.
And you had this office, and you had your mic, and you were just doing so much, and you were just inside of this organization, but you were encapsulated by who you were, and everybody else was kind of like the organization. You know what I mean? They were focused in, but Chris was just in there as Chris Tuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, those are fond memories making a salary. Jeez.
And I could tell, yeah, that was a good, that was a level of comfort that you had on you too.
Yeah.
That you
I was super comfortable.
Yeah, I could tell. And it was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing this, you know, I'm doing that. Now it's like, I'm doing this, let's go, churn and burn. Like you just ready to go. And I think that's a big benefit. So from there, I kind of had glimpses. I was like, that's what I want to do. That's something like I want to do. I just want to be able to get myself out in the world and impact people's lives, inspire people in a broader way, in a bigger way. And so fast forward, you know, I had an idea. I was, you know, entrepreneur, and I came up with this idea for a business, a Nerf business, right? That's crazy. I was working with kids, and I came up with this idea.
Mostly nonprofits, right?
Yeah, mostly nonprofits. And I've done that. I've worked with the city of Atlanta, taught entrepreneurship, STEM. And I always like to be in a space where I'm helping inspire people to be the better version of themselves, for them to actually see it as something that they can live. And I did that mostly with kids, you know. And so, you know, I was working with kids, award-winning STEM program. Microsoft had me come out to talk to how they connect with the population that I work with. I was on radio stations, just doing like stuff with the kids, and the kids love me. And it was getting to the point where like I could dictate my contract with the city of Atlanta, and I was working in corporate, all those things. And so from there, it grew a business idea. I was like, yeah, you know, we have fun. So I created this Nerf thing, and it was a way for people, and it's Nerf, like, you know, the blasters and everything. And so it was just something
it's Nerf. Give me dude, your Nerf is a different level of churn.
It's a different level of Nerf. It's curated Nerf experiences.
Dude. it's straight off of Instagram. The Gatling gun. Come on.
Yes.
Don't undersell.
I'm not going to undersell it. But no, it was fun, and the kids had fun, and everybody, it was something nostalgic, something that was active. You off your devices, and adults and kids can kind of come together and play, and just and that competitive thing comes out of you. And I was starting it, and then the pandemic hit, and then everybody like, get away from me, 6 feet. And, you know, I was like, I just started this little side hustle, this business. And I want to impact lives, and I want to do these things. And so I just, I'm gonna double down on it. And I just bought like a whole bunch of stuff because it was on clearance. Nobody was using it. And then you called me out, and it was right at the point, let me say this, it was right at the point where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna just continue this or I'm gonna bring it back. But you called me, and you was like, hey, Churn, listen, do you still do the Nerf thing? I told you, remember, my daughter wants to have a Nerf birthday party. Let's do it. And I was like, Chris, you sure? He's like, yeah, let's do it. We'll have it here. And I was like, all right. It was like right before I hung up the Nerf blaster and was like, and cut the light off and walked out the room, closed the door. You called me, and I answered the phone, and you just said, so I was like, all right. So we had it. and it was a version of it. And I gave you, first thing I did was give you like the biggest Nerf blaster, Gatling blaster. And second thing you did after you smiled and thanked me, you turned on Julie. Yeah. I was like, wow, Chris. And I was like, let me get that back from you. But you had fun, the kids had fun. And from there, I got referrals and I did it. And it was something I couldn't believe was happening. You know what I mean? And from there, I still do it. Emory picked me up in their accelerator program, but it's like one of those things where like, yeah, I can make money doing this and having fun. And that was like a glimpse of me like making money and living purpose and doing things that would make me happy and wanting to do. And so
healthy side hustle, baby.
The healthy side hustle. I feel like side hustles are expressions of your vision or your dream that you want to have.
And it's a nice test drive, right?
Oh, yeah. Perfect test drive. I test drive some things. I test drive different businesses. Some work, some don't. And then once you get something that you like and you can see a future
But how many people, in your interactions don't even test drive something? Like, the amount of conversations that I have with people, I'm thinking about doing this and it's like, go do it. Put it into action.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't start because they don't want to be seen as new or struggling with it. Everybody struggles the first time. So a lot of people do not start because they want to start on expert, and that's not how it works.
And it takes 3 to 4 years before you can actually see whether or not it's gonna really break through, right?
Yep. And leaving that comfort zone, which I feel like a lot of times is an illusion anyway. You know what I mean? Leaving that comfort zone to try something new, it will have you stretch yourself in certain ways. And a lot of people, we used to have a saying, even that when we were at Blank Lab, I used to tell Corey, it's like, oh, they run back to the rack, meaning that you all your life you wore rack clothing, right? And then you invest in like something tailored for a big event or wedding or a promotion. And the first time you see yourself in something that was made for you, you get uncomfortable because you're used to seeing yourself in something that isn't made for you. You just wear. And I think a lot of people, that's when I came when I say, yep, he's running back to the rack, and I'll see it. And you just need that push. Like, no, that's why I would always tell, like, especially the guys, just bring your partner in, bring your wife in. And I think when you get to that ledge of, I want to try this, it's always that it's good to have somebody that says, just go a little bit further. Just, yeah, you got it. You look great in this.
Well, and I think you bring up another important point, which is we can't necessarily put the judgment on ourselves as to whether or not that thing that you're trying on, right? That side hustle is actually valid, right? And I think I probably don't talk enough about how important it is to have a partner, whether that be in the business or a gut check friend or an actual partner like my wife, Julie.
Absolutely.
To be like, all right, listen, does this look good on me? Right? Like,
yes.
Give me it straight.
Yes. And that's monumental because until we transition to the version of ourselves that has the courage to try this side hustle, to take this new path that we haven't done before in our lives, we need all the encouragement, all the motivation, and just honestly that transparency that they give you, that vulnerability. Like, hey, I don't know about this one, or like, listen, you should take this and run. And that's why when you tell people like, this is awesome, I can see this being big, I think most of it doesn't get through initially. People have that, like, it's like a defense thing. Like, I can't allow myself to dream this big. Like he sees this, but he doesn't know this, or he doesn't know that. And the reality is that stuff doesn't matter. The reason why it doesn't matter, that you can't. Because as you do it, as you go, you'll figure it out. You'll build the plane on the way down. You just have to have that intention, that will to do it.
Yeah, sometimes I need myself to give me that pep talk after. I had in transparency, I had a horrible week last week, right? Like, so we have the most epic retreat, right? Like, I feel like everyone had these amazing breakthroughs.
Absolutely.
And then I get back into the grind, and, my friend said, hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And someone came and really took me down. And it rocked my world, Churn. Like, I was sitting here, Ben was editing, I just had tears rolling down my face. And, I get probably a little emotional talking about it because I was like, dude, I'm good. And then all of a sudden you get this horribly critical feedback from someone that was not constructive, that it's like, oh, right? Like, and sometimes I'm looking around, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, what do I need to do? All right, I need to start calling people, right? I need to start getting practical inputs to this very emotional side that I'm going through. And I talked to Julie and I talked to Ben, and I'm not fully recovered, right? But looking back on it, I know it's going to be one of those things in this story of this choose your own adventure that I'm on that was critical to putting me onto the correct path. Does that make sense? Right?
Absolutely.
But I want you to talk about the retreat because what I saw unfold, and I didn't underestimate you that much. When I say I underestimated you, I didn't see in you what I saw on the retreat, which is what I call like the 1% rule. The 1% rule is that 1% of really anyone should be aspiring to be the speaker, podcast. Like it takes this certain almost both presence and delivery. And I watched you. I can tell you exactly when it happened. Because it's dinner time and we play what I call tough questions, TUFF questions, right? Where I start throwing out questions to really get people talking and thinking. And I usually start with an icebreaker. But as I saw you assess the table and take in, and you just took it in, and I'm looking over, and then all of a sudden, you'd start throwing these darts. Now, listen, I throw darts, but mine's like a Gatling Nerf gun. I'm like, did any of those hit the bullseye? Whereas you're waiting, and then you strike, and it's like, bullseye. And I watch AB. AB's like, damn, right?
That's how you said it, too.
And then it was just like one after another. I'm like, dude, how can you get 8 bullseyes in a row? What is that? And I remember the one that did it for me. I forgot exactly what we were talking about, but the quote was something along the lines of the heaviest weight we carry is the last one we put down, right? Yeah. Is that it, right?
We were talking about the heaviest weight we carry is the one we refuse to put down.
Yeah.
And the more you hold on to stuff, just like calisthenics, like you can hold the thermos, or you can hold a coconut water, and you can hold it, but the longer you hold it, the weight of it doesn't change. It's still the same weight. But the longer you hold it in a place that's uncomfortable, it starts to get heavier and heavier and heavier, and then it starts to pull on you. And some things we're holding on to has such gravity in our lives that if we just simply let it go, it would free us. You know what I mean? It will let us rise farther than we can think. So
after Churn said that, I turned to him, I was like, where did you get that? He looks at me, he's like, I just came up with that. I was like, oh my gosh. I started writing stuff down. I'm like, dude, Churn's got the best quotes of the.
Oh man, Corey did something similar to that. We had an aha moment for lunch and we were talking, but so at the retreat, it was a phenomenal retreat, man. It was very much needed. I was pushing really hard to, we got this book that we launched, and it was just all these things, and I never take that time for myself. I'm always going. Always in a state of process or proceeding, you know what I mean? Just going. And I said, no, this would be a chance to kind of recharge and be around guys and, impactful people, different backgrounds. And I know Patrick, I met Patrick at another retreat. And, if you know Patrick, man, with the Soul Wiggle podcast, shout out to Patrick. He's a person that's very guarded, and he doesn't he deals with people. But if you are into his orbit close to him, then you see how special he is. But a lot of people, and I think a lot of people try to get in his orbit just like yours, but you guys are like y'all have a high organic radar. It's like, no, you want something, or you no. And so when you guys invited me, I was like, I get to hang out with Tuff and Patrick. That's a no-brainer. Let's go.
No, wait, by the way. No, Patrick calls me. He was like, I don't care who goes on this, but Churn's coming. Yeah. I was like, all right, we're going to make it happen.
At that time, you weren't so, but I'm glad you got there. But Patrick, man. And so going down and meeting the guys, and we have these different guys, different industries. And AB kicked our butt when we first got there with the workout.
Went straight into a workout.
After we stopped, we left the airport. Nice setup. We hopped into the van, the Sprinter van. Chris learned the controls. We're playing music. We're chilling. We're vibing.
Dude, and we're just asking John Baum every question possible
all the questions
about being an F-16.
And Chris kept trying to get declassified information. I was like, this man is gonna have to make a phone call, debrief because of you. But
and then John's like, dude, you're gonna be with me for 3 days.
Yeah, just chill.
Just chill.
But we're all kind of getting to know each other. We were already on the group chat, just talking. We stopped to get some food at this nice spot, this Cuban spot, right in front of this farm.
This Cuban hut in the middle of nowhere, next to a farm.
When I say spot, yes, it's like a but the food was so good, and we ate, and we get there, and then we do a workout. So fast forward to the dinner, and you started asking the tough questions, and everybody was around, and everybody started to let their guard down. And I'm watching everybody, and I'm listening to them. And so my background is very interesting in the fact that my parents were both big in the community. My mother worked for DFACS, and if you don't know what that is, that's Department of Family and Children Services. So I grew up running around group homes and emergency shelters, having some of the kids live with us. So I got to see a lot of different things, and the importance of community, importance of family, importance of connection early in my life, and how the difficulties of life or crazy circumstances could either bring certain elements out of us or force others to retreat inside of us. And at the table, I learned, so I work with kids. And so when I was working at Blank Label, I'm good with people, and I talk to you long enough, and I can kind of see what's blocking you, and I can see why you can't see it.
Well, the other thing you do, though, Churn, that's so amazing is you've seen the most broken of humans, right? That have been dealt the worst decks of cards ever, right? And yet at no point did I ever sense from you that you are hearing these problems, in some cases, the people that have been given a royal flush, and not one point do you put judgment on them that their problems are any less than the ones that you grew up with, right? Or seeing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing, dude.
Yeah, so
like you hear my problems, it's like, Chris, shut up. There's never that, right? Like you really you have this knack for not only taking it in, but then approaching it with such practical empathy, right? Which is, I think, a hard dynamic to pull off, and you do it well. So
I appreciate that. Everybody's life is different. We all hop in this vehicle called life. And, it's different vehicles for different people, but it doesn't mean that your drive is perfect. It's people that have great backgrounds as far as one aspect, but they have terrible as far as another. And the thing I learned about life is, and I saw it very early on, that it has a way to affect you. And it has a way that affects you personally, tailor-made to you, right, in your situation. But we all go through it. And so I could talk to a kid in a group home about doubt and fear and abandonment. And I can talk to, a CEO about the same things. And that's once you kind of see that, and you can kind of recognize it everywhere, if that makes sense. And if I was blessed, like I was blessed to so I worked at, one of my first jobs in corporate, I worked for this company, and we would take students that would come in. They wanted a high school graduation. They wanted their diploma, training, just all these different things. And we gave them a second chance. We put them in a program, taught them a trade, all of that. And so, and it's interesting how life works. And I mentioned a little bit in my book, but I was one of the people. So we had to give orientations about coming into the program. And that was, now looking back, that was my honing my talking to groups. You know what I mean? And I got so good at it, people just wanted me to do the orientation, because after the students left, they were fired up and they wanted to jump in the program. And we, our metrics, our KPIs were getting them in and having them complete and then having them gain employment. And my numbers were high. They would complete the program, they would get employment. And versus other people's who had a lot of volume go in, They were just capitalizing on the amount going in, like the volume, and they didn't really care about so much about the back end because they had so many going in. But my numbers, like if I got them in, they pretty much did it. And that was my proving grounds. That was my like honing my ability to kind of motivate, inspire, see what you have going on, and like, all right, this is what it is. This is why you probably feel like that. This is what you should probably do to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I noticed that it doesn't matter the person. It just matters like what the situation is, like who they are. And so when I listened at the table, the dinner table, and I would hear like the John Bombs and the different people talk about their circumstances. And then it was like, oh, okay, you had to become this person. You became the person you wish you had when you were a kid. That's what you did. This is why you do it. And this is probably what you should do. This is why you feel this way about this. And it seems like bombs, but I just take it in and it's like, okay. And we're all looking for something. We're all looking for something. We spend our entire lives looking for things. And I feel like having somebody that kind of show you how to get those things within yourself. You know what I mean?
And that's what you are.
I try to be, yeah. and that's how you affect change.
I think you are that, right? Like, I mean, I think you really are that. And I mean, that to me it's such a unique quality that I think partly you were born with, but partly it's these incredibly profound, experiences that you had as a kid. Like, yeah. And so, I mean, some of the stories you told me about what you've seen, right? Like, I mean, that molds you.
It does. It really does. And like looking back about like your life and the things that you experienced, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the moments that I had with Chris, with Corey, and he recorded it. And like, we would have these profound talks going to lunch and coming back. And one of the things that I told him is that I used the analogy of a sculptor, right? I said, we have it wrong. We think, anybody that gets a block of wood or some marble, we think that they turn that into the masterpiece. I said, the masterpiece is already in there. They just carve away everything that's not needed to reveal it. And I think when we go through life, we go through hardships, we go through even good times, it's just carving away the pieces that we're liberating it from this block. So we're not turning the block into the thing. The thing is in there. We're just pulling away everything that's not needed to reveal it. And
do you think the good times or the bad times get you closer to that masterpiece?
Both. Life is balanced. And you got to have the rain and the sun in order to grow something, right? If it's always rain, you drown it. If it's always sun, you dry it out. So you have to have those ebbs and flows. You can't have too much of one, too much of the other. And I think a lot of times people are off. This is something I noticed. A lot of people are off because they're pursuing either the sun or they're allowing themselves to be rained out. And so no growth really happens. And so once you start to figure out, I'm like buffalo, they keep walking. Like when it rains on them, they don't just stand still. They keep walking because you're walking your way out of that rain into the sun. So once you realize like I'm in this place and I want to be in this other place, and that goes to what you say, take action. And I think a lot of people, some part of them wants to take action, but they don't know what to do next. And so only thing that they know to do is what they've been doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, sure. Well, here's the other thing that I've learned about buffalo is that in a snowstorm, they will actually not move away from it. They actually go towards it and through it because it's faster get through it. Right?
Absolutely.
And
that's
accurate. And also as I assessed my last, what was a tough week for me and made me question everything. My garden was sunny. Right? Like, man, I needed some water.
Some rain.
I needed some rain, and it was a downpour and maybe flooded a little bit. But now here we're coming out on the other side, and I'm like, oh damn, like where'd that come from?
The version of you that made it past that situation is a stronger version of yourself.
When I think the other piece that I've learned in my own experiences too is that when you're going through those really hard times, which are destined to come, they feel so long, right? Yeah. And yet when you look back on that, even my own rock bottom, that rock bottom was really probably a 2-year span. But as I look back on it, it's just this dot on that story arc, right? And the other amazing thing, I pair smells with periods of my life.
Yeah.
Even my dark times, I'll pair it with candles and colognes, and then I put that in a memory bank that I can revisit it. And what's amazing to me is even as I revisit those smells that have been the tough times, that have been those snowstorms or rainstorms or whatever you want to call it, I have fond memories of it. Isn't that weird? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Right?
You have fond memories of it. You you are looking at a trophy. You survived it. And you've known what has come out of that difficulty, out of that hurt. When you're going through the hurt, when you're going through the stress, you don't really, it takes a lot of afterthought to see the benefit of it. And that's, you have to train yourself. But when you're going through it, when you're in that pain, all you know is that present moment. And
so what do you do when you get down?
When I get down,
and how often does it happen?
It happens. And so people, like, I am positive. It's a choice that I make, but I get down. I have hardships. I go through things. And for me, I either zoom in or I zoom out, right? I zoom in or I zoom out like a camera. So if I'm going through something and it just seems like it's just very, very difficult, I zoom out and I give myself perspective. You made it through the last time you felt like this, so you'll make it through this one. Look for the lessons right now. Make this difficulty count as much as possible. Look for those lessons because there are lessons in it. And I think that's kind of why some of the tough times last. They feel like they last a little bit longer because it slows you down. And we're just like, but no, just look at it. It slows it down for you to learn something from it. Put purpose to that pain. Put a label on it. And
put purpose to that pain, man. Is that yours too?
Yes.
God.
Sure. I got a list of that
just came out, man.
Let me check. But no, it makes sense, right? So you have to label it, like don't let it run free in your life. You know what I mean? Like because time is gonna do that anyway. You know, every scar you get, everything that you go through, you already started.
And then what about the zooming in then?
The zooming. Okay, so we get to the zooming in. Zooming in is.
I get the zooming out. Zooming in. I don't know.
But zooming in is being present to what's important, focusing on what's the important thing. Even in good times, like, you know, I'm feeling good, like you were feeling great, but zooming in, like, no, because I think people get defeated by victory too. You know what I mean? No, but it's like
people get defeated by where's AB when we need him? AB, I need you here, dude.
People get defeated by victory. People are used to, like, I've been winning. Yeah, I'm great. Totally. I'm good, and then bow.
I got defeated by victory. That's exactly what happened, Churn.
Yes, and so zooming in allows you to say, I feel good. Now what's next? What do I need? What should I be focusing on in this moment? How do I've been defeated by victory. I was working, you know, I was getting contracts. I was with my program, award-winning program. I was like, this is great. I was like, you know, I had all these benefits, and I was working for myself. I can control what I wanted to control, and it allowed me to do a lot of great things. But I was zoomed out too far, right? And I missed certain things that, like, I missed people moving. You know what I mean? Like the person I was working with, like, every time they recommended me as a program, those people got promotions. And so they would just hand me off to the next person because I was doing great. And so somebody came in who wasn't, you know, didn't care about STEM and entrepreneurship and like he just wanted sports. And so, you know, he started moving things to where, like, we need more sports programs. And I was like, but I wasn't paying attention to that. And I started falling out of that contract loop. And I was like, wait a minute, you know, and you know, even other situations where I look back, it was like, if I was just a little bit more zoomed in, I could have avoided this situation, or I could have made the most out of this situation. So yeah, people do get defeated by victory. But when I go through something, I take it in, I allow it to happen, and then I don't sit in it too long. That's my thing. I reset faster. It's a quote. This is not mine, but it's like, people don't drown by falling in water. They drown by staying in it. Right? And so some people they get comfortable with chaos. They get comfortable with, like, my life's just this, and this never going to change. And they think like that. And so it doesn't. and some people get happy.
So how do you help people? So I would guess that you have a lot of people in your orbit that are like, man, and I get this, right? Because I'm sunshine, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Literally,
sunshine attracts darkness. Like, people like, I want that light. Yeah.
And then I can now quickly see a trend in someone that I'm like, oh gosh, like here we go again, right? Like, how long is this rain gonna last, right? Because like at some point, it's up to you to see the sun, right? Or to bring that out. Yeah. But I would guess, knowing you and knowing just your extreme talents in being able to help people, right? How do you decipher where you put your energy?
That's a good question. And Chris, it's weird. Like I'll randomly talk to people, and I have stories. Like I've had like police officers have a conversation, almost start crying, and different things like that. Like just off of talking. But in my orbit, because I do that too. I see when some people just want you to affirm
or to do all the work for them,
or to do all the work. And I can't do that. I always say this thing when I would give advice. I was like, do you want me to tell you the truth or want me to tell you what you want to hear? Because I can do both. You just pick which one you want. And then one is going to be a quicker conversation. And so you can tell when people are at that point. You kind of gave me an ideal of, you put it in terms of like a 4 or a 5 or a 10. When people are at that point.
Yeah, what I told Churn is that I specialize in humans that are like, they have to be at least a 4 out of 10, right? Like I'm not very well equipped for the broken human. And I mean, I certainly have compassion, but you know, that's where I'm like, all right, you need a therapist and like, once you get to a 4, like I specialize in 4 to 7s, right? Which is most of the population, where it's like, all right, it's go time, baby, right?
So using that, I think what I do is I'll boost the 3 to a 4 or a 5. I'll get them to boost themselves. And then like I'll rev you up, and then I'll just point you like, don't you think you should probably do this? And they encouraging them to take action, get them to that point. When I was working at this agency and you work with different kids and different, young adults, everybody gets comfortable in, some people get comfortable in the hole. Like I can survive at a 3. I'm functional at a 2. You know what I mean? But I'm not happy, and I'm just trying not to go down. I'll just stay right here. And so one of the things that I would do, just to answer your question, is that when I talk to you or I observe, I kind of can see like, all right, so let's get you a little higher. Like let's get you in a mindset where you can take a little action for yourself. Because it's all about building momentum, all about creating momentum. And that was actually one of the first talks that I gave at the at the retreat that I stayed to listen to yours, and it was just phenomenal. But I did a talk about creating positive momentum in your life and how to do that. And momentum is basically sliding on ice. You build up enough momentum in the right direction, and you'll continue in that direction regardless if you're trying to go away from it. And I said most people, and I learned that most people have momentum in their lives. They're going towards a negative place, and it seems like they're trying to step backwards, but they keep sliding forward. So how do you change that momentum or control it and spend more momentum in better places in your life, to where you're going towards this good thing and it's hard for you to mess it up? You know what I mean? And so what I try to do with every person or anybody that I come in contact with that needs it, because everybody, I'm not going to be the guy, hey, you should do this, do that. But if we get to that point where I can see it and you're receptive to it, teach you how to create your own momentum and go and spend more time in the places that you want to be, and have enough empathy to understand that you could be dealing with the momentum that was given to you, right? So whatever we don't resolve can exceed the scope of our life, right? You'll pass it down. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So whatever you don't filter out or handle in your lifetime, it might go down to the next. And so some people start this life on the momentum of somebody else. And so that's where you get these circumstances. My parents were like this. My situation was like that. And so you're already pushed in a direction. And it takes effort for you to change that direction.
Well, and I think we become overly reliant on one thing to create momentum. And I see this a lot with, C-level people or entrepreneurs, where I ask them my favorite question, which is like, what's your dream? And it stumps them. I'm like, seriously? Right? Like, oh my God. And they get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's also where it's like, we all need to side hustle something. That might be a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
It might be a Nerf gun business or writing a book or doing a podcast, like what this is, I guess, for me. But we all need to be pursuing these things just to lessen the reliance on what tends to be an ebb and flow, right? That is in our zone of passion.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point, Chris. We tend to hold on to that one thing. Yeah. And at first it starts out, well, I just do this but then it becomes the only thing. You don't want to jump or grab anything else. It's like swinging. You're not going to grab one vine until you have you're not going to let go of one until you have your hand firmly on another. And a lot of people are scared to reach because I can lose this one. So I think that second thing, that side hustle, that passion project, whatever it is you proving to yourself or holding on to a part of yourself and acknowledging that. That because we'll do everything for this one thing. We'll do everything for the company because I need to make money, or I need to do this. I need to survive. Right. And that becomes I won't say idol, but it becomes the thing that we covet over ourselves. And the passion project is you intentionally saying that what I want matters. The dream that I have, my purpose matters outside of what I have to do to live.
Well, here's the other thing, that using that same metaphor of the ice, like I'm addicted to momentum.
Yeah.
All right. I'm addicted to it. Right. Yeah. And what I sometimes tend to do is I'll have 7 of these things all cranking, but it's actually more of an exercise for me into consolidation, right? Where it's like, all right, Chris, that new book, just hold your horses on it until you actually get these other things further along, right? Like, and that is also a balance piece. And as we talk through, I'm like, man, I should have called Churn when I was going through this stuff last week, But it's interesting, right? Like, as you put through that, when you're in these rainstorms, right? And you are assessing who it is that you want to reach out to, my immediate reaction is like, oh man, I don't want to put this on someone else, right? Whereas like most of my life, I'm the guy that pulls them out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm that guy too. I think the way you go about it, because and how you think about it, when you're going through these problems, especially if you're the lifeguard always saving somebody, the lifeguard needs to be saved too sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's an honor to
every single thing you say, I'm like, that's a pretty good name for a book. The lifeguard.
You see opportunity in everything because to that, but no, it's an honor. Like you have to have those people that you go to as well to recharge. And I think when you're used to momentum and you can see the possibility in everything, consolidation is something that you have to do, because like I said this to somebody yesterday. When you don't have vision, distractions look like opportunities.
Yeah.
And so you're going to knock out everything. And you don't have the problem of if I can do it. Yours is like when I'm gonna do it. And so you see the impact in front of you and you run towards it. And that's a good problem to have, but it's also something that you have to temper. When you go through stuff, we're vulnerable. You know what I mean? That's your most vulnerable point. And that's when you get the most defensive. Like, I can't do this and I can't do that, because the value of somebody, the impact of somebody bringing their problems to you. What it really, because some people, they're like Godzilla thumping through the city. Like, I need this. And it's like, you don't even know how much you're on fire. You want me to hug you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like one of those things like, all right, at least get the smoldering. And then I hug you. And they're running towards you. You trying to spray them, like, chill out. Like, but when you're in the crisis and when you need something, I would say this: it's always good, and I practice this, where if I need something, especially like my wife or anybody, I'll say, hey, Chris, I just had some stuff happen. Is this a good time? Can I share this with you? And you have full space to say no. And I give you that option. And then and that kind of slows you down and say, you know what? Yes. You know, or you say, not right now, I'm dealing with something. Well, all right, well, I appreciate you anyway, man.
Dude,
and you go to the next
that's such good advice, man. Seriously, right? Because you just want to launch right into it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as the person that's going through it, you
Yeah.
just want to launch right into it, and you throw it on them, and then, but you don't actually give them the choice as to whether or not.
No, you don't. You don't. But by doing that, it does two things. For you, it allows you to kind of package it up in a way. You know what I mean? Because when you're going through it, it's like it's all over the place. You feel like oh, this is, and your mind just races. But like if I slow down and say, hey, Chris, I'm dealing with this, you know, you have a second to talk about it. You're subconsciously starting to like, all right, this is what I'm going to say first. You start structuring it versus just dumping it to somebody. You know what I mean? Like when even if it was like a pile of papers right here, and you want to give it to somebody, like Ben, you have to collect them to hand it to them, right? Versus saying, here, look at this, get through that. And so it also gives the other person that respect, that space. Like, listen, I value you. I value that you may have something going on. And because of respect I have for you, I'm asking you, like, do you have the bandwidth to kind of sit down and help me process? Because I know you've been places, you have experience when you've talked to somebody and they're not listening or they don't feel the gravity of it. And so that kind of brings them to attention. Like, wait a minute, he must really need me to lock in with him because he's asking me this. And so they say yes. And it's like, now we're doing it together. You know what I mean? And it kind of puts that on it.
I love it. Dude, Churn, we could do this all freaking day. All right. So for listeners, the one question I ask everyone is, what is your dream, Churn? What is that thing that's inside of you?
My dream, and I'm putting it out there. I love that question you always ask. My dream is to impact people in a very foundational way, through speaking, through interactions, through coaching. I love seeing the effect I have on the world, and I love seeing it go off and do. It's my dream is to, I want to say, I say speaking or anything like that. And just really create a platform for people to connect and for them to not only connect with each other and what's important in their lives, but for them to connect to the version of themselves that they desire most.
Do you think you're doing that now?
I am on a not as intentional as I could be doing it. I realized, like, even coming here, I thought about it. I've been doing it my whole life, man. Like, believe it or not, it's weird. Like I could tell you stories. I was in daycare. They would let me like sweep, and I would talk to the ladies, and they would just like elementary. I went down the list. Elementary school, they gave me a award that's still in the school, and I was like one of the only kids honored for like, I was just, everybody loved. It was just like, I've been doing it so long, but just to be intentional about it, just to be like how you go and speak and you go and do these things and you go out there into the world, not hesitating and just fully embracing it, fully doing it. You know, like you say, oh, you're going to be great in this. And I would hear stuff like that. And I was like, but like, no, all right, let's do it. Let's see where it goes. Let's push as far as I can push it. Because it's not about me. It's not about me. No. You know, it's bigger than you. You know, we're not giving gifts for ourselves. We're giving it for others. Right. You just the cup that it came in, you know? And so what you do when you connect people and you push that momentum, and find out what their dream is, you're connecting them to their dream. And once that connection is made, then the universe shifts to make it happen. Right. So my biggest dream is just to do that, man, to be successful in that. You know, everybody, you know, I want to be successful in business. I want to, be able to take care of my family and do very well and be impactful generationally. But I definitely want to help people, because it's so much that pulls us down. It's so much targeted. You know, we have social media. You had a person call you, right, and like shook you, right? People give out doubt and fear like it's candy. You know what I mean? I can't, so you can't.
Yeah.
Or I'm super critical, and a lot of the stuff isn't coming from a place of love because they don't love themselves. So how can they put it out? You know what I mean?
I love it.
So that's my biggest goal, man. And just enjoy this journey, man.
Well, first of all, I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to do it more often, and you're always welcome to come here to do it.
Oh man, I love it. This was fun.
I mean, I truly do think. I mean, I wrote in your book or
appreciate
my
that.
book that I finally gave to you. I think you're a gift to the world, Churn, and I can't wait to watch the ripples that. I mean, I know how you've impacted me. I mean, even just today, and then obviously on our retreat.
Yeah.
And you know, to take all of this profound experience that you've been through and to watch for me where you're gonna go, that's gonna be epic. Now, how can people connect with you on social media and elsewhere?
So Stephen Churn, LinkedIn, social media is Churn Daily, StephenChurn.com. That's that's in the works as well. But
And if you want to text him, he's got an Android phone, which messes up every group chat situation.
Yes.
I had to throw it in there.
Yeah, you did.
But
You
he
did.
did commit to me that he's. I don't want to force anything.
No. But no. So yeah, they can definitely. Vin's laughing. But yeah. And I'll have more as I push out there in the world, because I've had moments where I was like, hey, I'm doing it, and then I was like, but yeah. So those are definitely ways to contact me, and I'm looking forward to just conversations. If you want me to come, like, I talk to groups, I do a lot of things like now. I'm doing more things like that intentionally, and I'm gonna, once it picks up the pace like it does in the past, I'm gonna just embrace it, because sometimes I kind of shy away from it, like I don't want to be like your friend. But no, it's I'm at that place. I met somebody like you who you run for it, you run through it, and you get your hurdles. You got you all that momentum, right? And that little pebble can make you a little, but
I need some rain, Churn. I need some rain last week.
We all do, and we all need to be more intentional about our purpose here and enjoying life. And it's no free lunch. Like, something costs something, so you have to put the work in. You have to endure. But it's not happening to you; it's happening for you, right? And you start framing everything like that, and you start looking for the lessons. It's a country saying I told somebody, it's like, chew up the meat, spit out the bone. Like, you don't
say it again.
Chew up. Make sure when in the meal that we're given, chew up the meat and spit out the bone. Like, you don't need the bones. Just chew up the meat. Eat what you can, and remember to let go of no longer what serves you. What no longer serves you. Like, focus on what you can use, and work with what you have and not with what you hope for. So where you're at, what you have available, do that.
I love it, Churn. Dude, thank you so much for.
Oh man, this is great, man. I could do this. Like, I love it.
No, dude. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on Tough Talk, and man, you're awesome. Keep going.
Thank you, man.
Can't wait to see what's about to happen.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.